It turns out, 30 years ago, when Bernie Sanders was the mayor of Burlington, Vermont, he hosted a public access TV show. Yeah. And a few days ago, that TV network released the full archives online, and I'm talking hours and hours of pure Bernie gold. Like, there's so much gold in these archives, Bernie's gonna demand it gets redistributed to the working class. That's how much gold there is. And when you start watching this footage, the first thing that's really apparent is how consistent Bernie has been throughout his life.
We have a crisis situation. We are one of two nations in the industrialized world that does not have a national healthcare system. The wealthiest people in our country are becoming wealthier. To a large degree, the tax system in this country is extremely unfair, and that it asks working people and elderly people and poor people to pay too much, while large corporations and wealthy people do not pay their fair share.
God damn. Bernie Sanders, he's never changed. And I'm not talking about his platform. The dude looked exactly the same back then as he does today. You realize he's 46 years old in that photo. I'm not joking. He's 46 years old. He looks the same. Like, if you traveled back in time in a time machine and the first person you met was Bernie Sanders, you'd be like, this piece of shit doesn't work. Bernie'd be like, no, my friend, what doesn't work is our healthcare system. I wonder, has Bernie just looked like this his entire life? Yeah, I bet when he was born, the doctor was like, congratulations, Mrs. Sanders, it's a beautiful, healthy old man. Well done. It's like... And then instead of spanking Bernie, the doctor just shook his hand. Welcome to the world, Mr. Sanders. Welcome to the world. And although it's impressive that Bernie's been consistent in his policies, it really says more about America than it says about Bernie when you think about it, right? He's saying the same thing for 30 years because America has had the same problems for 30 years. But here's what makes this old TV show so amazing, right? It wasn't just about Bernie's policies. It was like a full TV show with different segments, and by far, the best segments of all are the ones where he interacted with kids, all right? Like this segment where he talks to some kids at camp about drugs.
Who knows about cocaine? Anyone ever seen cocaine?
Yes.
All right. Hold it, one at a time. What about cocaine? Good thing, bad thing? What about even smoking cigarettes? Who here smokes? Let me hear, come on, raise your hand. Well, other than your parents, who smokes? You smoke already? I've seen a lot of kids who were 12 and 11 smoking.
I don't smoke.
All right.
I don't smoke because I'm a little kid. I'm only 5 years old.
Oh, man. That's so adorable. I don't smoke because I'm 5 years old. Like, it's almost like Bernie can't tell the difference between kids and adults. He's like, let's talk finance. You guys diversified? Who's got a 401k? Who has the 401k? Who talks about cocaine with 5-year-olds? Like, the way he was asking the question made it seem less like an anti-drugs talk and more like he was trying to score some blow. He was just like, you guys know about cocaine? You know I can find it at a good price? Come on, this is Vermont. Let's hit the slopes. Come on, come on. And on the show, Bernie didn't just talk to kids about hard drugs. He also called them out on their BS.
Hold on, let me ask you a question. What is your name?
George.
All right, George.
What?
Do you think it's important that you know how to read well and write?
No.
Oh, you think not? Oh, really? I'm trying to argue with these kids. They think they're very smart and that school is not important.
Yeah.
Is that right? Well, I disagree with you. All right, I think you're dumb.
Yo, I think this kid's about to get his ass kicked by Bernie Sanders. And there'd be no coming back from that. If Bernie kicked your ass, you'd have to move to a different state. And even then, you know there'd be one guy be like, hey, didn't you get your ass beat by that 90-year-old? Be like, he was only 46, I swear. So you see, Bernie has always been a pretty straightforward guy, all right? But when it comes to kids, he might take it a little bit too far. Like for instance, this is one clip where he showed up to a classroom to teach the kids a lesson about bigotry, but I think it might have backfired.
If you want to deal with a group of people, what you essentially do, and you want to do bad things to them, you develop a stereotypical image of them, a stereotype. When I was a young person, what we learned is that black people smelled. All right, what about Jewish people? What's their thing? How are they different than other people? Their religious beliefs were different, but also they were greedy and selfish people. Also have strange sexual habits and so forth and so on. So what does everybody know about the Irish? They get in fights because they're drunk. All the Irish people do is drink. That's the Irish. Both Italians are gangsters, and Irish are drunk, and Jews are greedy, and black people smell. Okay?
Jeez, Bernie. What the f***, man? These poor kids clearly don't harbor any of those stereotypes, and now you're the one putting it in their heads. The blacks smell, the Italians are in the mafia, the Irish are drunks, and why are we so scared of Jewish people? We're not, because they're equal. Wrong. They have strange sexual habits. Come on. Which, by the way, I've never even heard that one. Yeah, I've never heard that one before. I think that was just Bernie's way of saying he's into some kinky shit. He was just slipping that in. And if you think Bernie talking to kids at camp or in the classroom was awkward, right? Sometimes he would just ambush random kids who were standing on the streets.
So what do you kids think of these new trees? You like them? They're nice. How were the people out here working before? Were the people out here working, putting them up before? Yeah. You guys help out? No. Okay. All right. Don't be so shy.
Don't be so shy. Actually, I think those kids were the exact right amount of shy. Think about it. A 46-year-old, 90-year-old man just rolled up, threw open his door, and asked, "What do you kids think of these new trees?" When kids' parents told them not to talk to strange men on the street, that is the definition of what they were talking about. You saw the one girl, she was just like, "I shouldn't be here. She just walked away. She was out. Like, I totally get why those kids were weirded out. Bernie was just like, "Hey, you kids like trees?" They're like, "Dude, let's get out of here. I heard Jews have strange sexual habits." But by far, my favorite clip of all that we found is when a little girl asks Mayor Bernie to build an amusement park in her neighborhood. And all of a sudden, he turns it into a town hall.
I was just wondering, my mother had this idea for an indoor-outdoor amusement park.
First thing that we have to do, though, before we could do something like that, is to make sure that we own the land. That's one of the concerns that we have. At the present moment, we don't own a lot of the land downtown. It's owned by the railroad. And one of the things that we're trying to do now is to figure out which land we should buy and how much we should pay for it. So we're working on that, but I think your mother's idea is a very good idea. And I congratulate you for giving her all these good ideas.
Okay, well, I better get going. So.
Yes! Oh, yes! That little girl is my hero. Because she was asking a fun question, and Bernie turned it into like a TED talk about zoning laws, and you could tell she was totally over it. Oh, man, that was so crazy. You know what's also crazy is that that little girl grew up to be Hillary Clinton.